Couple of storylines I want to dive into here on Four Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. Joe Flacco has been traded. Also, the Ravens make a bold signing. We're going to talk about both those storylines coming up here, but let's get to the news of the day. An inter-division trade, which is pretty rare, especially for a quarterback, as Joe Flacco is off to Cincinnati, as Jake Browning has just not been it since Joe Burrow went down with the toe injury. So they're going to bring in Joe Flacco via a trade. We will break down those trade details, and I will give my thoughts from a Bengals perspective and a Browns perspective here in a little bit. But I want to challenge you guys a little bit here. If you're a big-time football fan, prove it by showing the hype. Literally, there is a new feature on YouTube that you can hype up videos when you're watching them. So what you do is if you're on your phone in the comments section, just scroll to the right, and then there's going to be an option to give us hype, essentially. You just click that button. It's free. It's like hitting the like button. And if we get more hype on this video, more football fans can find this channel. So if you want to help support our show, we would greatly appreciate it. If you're a big NFL college football fan, show the hype by clicking the hype button. All right, here are the trade details. Joe Flacco and a sixth to the Bengals for a fifth. Classic late-round pick swap that you see on a lot of these minor moves. I got to be honest, my instant reaction here is I don't think Joe Flacco's saving the day. I don't think this is going to be like 2023 in Cleveland when the Browns signed him off the couch after Deshaun Watson got hurt, and Joe Flacco had this kind of Cinderella moment, right, where he just was at home raising his kids, hanging out with his brothers, gets a call, and leads Cleveland to the playoffs and plays pretty darn well. I think we saw this year like that magic had run out. We saw last year when he signed with the Colts and played a few games for Anthony Richardson. That magic wasn't there. Outside of that stretch in 2023, really since 2018, Joe Flacco's played like an average backup. So I don't view this as some scenario where he's saving this Bengals team. They still have a bad offensive line. They still have a bad defense. The one thing I will say is Joe Flacco can still spin the rock just in terms of the ability to throw the football and have that arm strength. And now he does have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So I think it could be a little bit better than the numbers we saw in Cleveland this year, which were just abysmal. But I don't think you're going to see some like even middle of the road starting quarterback production here. Like I think at best you're getting fringe starting quarterback production, and I just don't think that's going to be good enough for this Bengals roster. Like I said, the defense sucks. The offensive line is bad. It's worse than what Flacco had in Cleveland. So, yes, the receivers are better, but the O-line is worse, so he's going to have to get rid of the ball very, very quickly. I don't think this is like the high-level move I would have made. And by the way, apparently the Bengals didn't even consider trying to go and get a guy like Jameis Winston. That was reported by Diana Rossini, who said that the Bengals only called about Joe Flacco, which is kind of bizarre to me. Like, to me, if I could go get Jameis Winston, who's not perfect, certainly going to turn the ball over a lot, but can move around, probably has a bigger arm than Flacco, has played at a decent level more recently than Joe Flacco, I would have rather gone in that direction, but that is not the path that they have decided to go down here. So I just don't think like Cincinnati, like I respect them for making a move because Jake Browning was not the answer. He was playing much worse than he did a couple of years ago, but part of his success a couple of years ago is the Bengals had a much better roster and defense 2 years ago than they do now. Like, they have a bottom defense and a bad offensive line. I don't think 41-year-old Joe Flacco is going to overcome that. That's why I would have tried Jameis Winston to bring him in. Now, maybe the Giants would have gone that, wouldn't have traded him, but I personally would have done that. I understand not going the Russell Wilson route because Russ behind a bad offensive line and all he does is throw lollipop deep balls. Like, okay, like I'm not that interested in that, but Jameis can throw to all three levels of the field. He's got to turn the ball over, but he's got to put up some numbers at least. And hell, from an entertainment standpoint, it would have been much more fun to watch him with those two receivers. All right, we will take a look at the Browns angle of this, and then we'll get to the Ravens signing here in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor, PrizePicks. Daily fantasy made easy at prizepicks.com/CLNS. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. I've been right a lot recently with PrizePicks. I'm on a heater right now, hit a 3-player lineup on Monday night, and have several lineups in the chamber again this week. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick your favorite quarterback more on pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can do so in your same lineup, only on PrizePicks. Speaking of lineups, that's how it works. 2 to 6 player lineups, you pick more or less on the stat projections, and if you hit, you win some money. I got a 2-player lineup here, $20 to win $70. Caleb Williams, more than 24.5 rushing yards. I do like Deebo Samuel to score a touchdown as Terry McLaurin's banged up. Unclear if he'll play this week, but Deebo's been getting a lot of opportunities there, so I like him to score a touchdown. That's an example of what a PrizePicks lineup looks like. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Okay, the Browns angle of the Joe Flacco trade, pretty simple. From Cincinnati, I think it's a little more tricky, but you already benched him. He's 41 years old. Dylan Gabriel's playing. You've got Shedeur Sanders in the mix as well. Sure, there's value in keeping him to have a veteran around, but I think we overvalue that sometimes. The Browns this year aren't going anywhere. I think getting something for Flacco is actually a win. If you're Cleveland here. I thought Dylan Gabriel was serviceable in his first start against a tough Minnesota defense, did some good things, 190 yards, couple of touchdowns, took care of the football. I'm not convinced he's a long-term starter in this league. I think you're always going to have to, move the pocket and do different things to give him throwing angles because he is just 5'10". But I thought for a first start, there were some good signs there. And obviously, they probably want to take a look at Shedeur Sanders at some point this season as well. So the bottom line is Joe Flacco doesn't serve a purpose on the Browns. He played his role. A couple years ago, he saved the season. They went to the playoffs. It was fun. They brought him in. He held it down the first month this year while the two rookies developed behind the scenes. Now Gabriel's in there. Eventually, if he struggles, Shedeur will get a chance, and then you're off to 2026 if you're Cleveland. You're not contending this year anyway. So if you can get something for Joe Flacco, that kind of seems like a no-brainer to me. Will Joe Flacco be an upgrade over Jake Browning in Cincinnati? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I'll say yes, but I don't think a significant one. The only thing he'll be better at is the vertical passing game because he does have a bigger arm. He can't spin the rock. Chase and Higgins, if you have them in fantasy, you're a little happier today. I'll say that. But other than that, I don't see him resurrecting their season. I don't see a 2023 magical Joe Flacco storm coming here. All right, some other news I want to hit. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who got cut by the Texans a couple of weeks ago, has signed with the Baltimore Ravens to their practice squad initially. I would imagine they're going to activate him pretty quickly and get him on the active roster because they're beat up. They have a lot of key injuries to a lot of key players, including Kyle Hamilton, which obviously is the position that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson plays. Darius Washington tore his Achilles before the season as well at safety, so they're already pretty thin at that position. And to me, this is kind of a sign of desperation, right? You're bringing in a player that doesn't have a great reputation, obviously has some talent, has been a part of some winning teams with the Eagles and the Saints and so on and so forth over the course of his career. But Baltimore's this is a signal to me, with their injuries, they're 1-4. They're trying to make moves. They're trying to save this season because this is a year to go make a run in the AFC. It's wide open right now. Chiefs are 2-3. The Bills don't have a good defense. This is the year to potentially break through in the AFC, and so you don't want to waste it if you're Baltimore. So we'll see if Gardner-Johnson can help them. He's certainly very capable, but he seems to cause issues in every locker room. And remember last year, Baltimore tried this with Deontay Johnson at receiver, and they cut him 3 weeks later. So we'll see if it ends up being different this time around. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of For Verts. We covered the latest NFL and college football news and big storylines, so we'll be back soon with another episode. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that hype button, and we'll see you guys soon.